see on that top ribbon, you should have your transcript also available for you. And again, thank you so much for being with us this Wednesday morning. We're going to allow a few more minutes for the rest of the participants to join us in this Microsoft Teams space. Alrighty. Good morning, everyone. My name is Cecilia Hemley. I am your product manager for the Drupal platform. And with me, I have additional Tyler Technology team members that will be on the chat monitoring and answering any questions. Again, this is a session that will be recorded and made available to you. So again, a few pieces of housekeeping. This is a workshop type of presentation, so make sure that you make space, but also take space. What that means is that if you have any questions, we will make sure that we address those. If you want something demonstrated, we will also take care of that, but also make room for others to ask questions. So without further ado, I'm going to get started. Again, we have all of the Tyler Tech team. You will see them responding to your questions in the chat. The intent of this session is to ensure that we are able to access our website after the Drupal 10 upgrade. It has been almost a year. It's 11 months and 2 weeks from the time of our migration. So we're coming on to that year mark. But I do understand that there are specific items that some of you guys want to see. So we're going to make sure that we address that. First thing we're going to do is let me know by show of thumbs if you can see my screen. Thank you so much, Sunny. This is our training website. It is cms.colorado.gov. And just to give you a little bit of what Sunny calls the anatomy of the website, this is a CMS, which is a content management system or solution. And it is what we are providing you in an accessible way to provide and share information to your constituents. From top to bottom, we're just going to highlight some of the components. At the top, you will see that this particular website is on the colorado.gov domain. This is our CMS website. I'm going to click over to my second tab on this particular browser tab so that you can see that we have another site that is our demo site. This is what we have for our component library. All of the things that we have, you can go here and explore. So you will see us navigating and floating freely between cms.colorado.gov and demo.colorado.gov. One thing to note is that this first site, CMS, is leveraging an alert content type that is going to float atop of all of the pages. This is both in mobile and tablet or in desktop. We're right underneath that article. I'm sorry, this alert content type, you will notice that we have a utility menu, and this one is leveraging the Google Translate widget. Immediately after this area, you will see that we have the Google Programmable Search. This one comes to all of the websites. If you do not have the Google language, just let us know by sending us an email at partner support, and we'll make sure that we add that to your website. This region right here is the header region, and it is the logo that you will provide to us for us to upload to your site. The theming of the site is managed by our team. So if you have a marketing change or you just want to freshen up the website and change the color of your top navigation, do send us an email to partner support, and we're happy to make that edit for you. Underneath the main navigation, you will notice that we have this opportunity for either a decorative or an informational element. This is the Jumbotron. This Jumbotron region is composed, or it includes another content type that is called the Jumbo Slide. And we will touch that if you guys have not been able to do that in the past and you would like for us to demonstrate how that works. We're happy to do so. Just drop it in the chat so that we can add that to our training today. The main navigation has an opportunity to be displayed above or underneath the Jumbotron. The Jumbotron is not a mandatory feature. This is something that you could add or remove based on your needs. And you could have this on all of your landing pages. Your home page happens to be a landing page. So again, in this particular instance, we are displaying the main navigation on top of the Jumbotron. When we click tap or select away from CMS and we look at the demo, you will notice that we do not have the alert content type. We are leveraging the utility menu. We do have the Google translation. We have the programmable search, the logo, and the main navigation atop the Jumbotron region. The one difference is that this particular Jumbotron leverages more than one slide, and we have the pause play feature right here, or we have these radio buttons that could progress the slides for you. Clicking back onto the CMS.Colorado, you will notice that we have content here that is displayed using these hover action, call to action elements. These are icon cards, and this here is a basic card. I think it's known that I'm a librarian by training, so I use this this metaphor of this being a bookshelf, and on the bookshelf loading cards, which will be your books, and I'll explain briefly. When you look at how this site is built, it is built with paragraphs, and the paragraphs are comprised of rows and cards. Each one of those rows could be formatted, and onto that formatted row, you could then leverage different cards. These cards are no code promises. You don't have to know how to code at all. These are pre-formatted and pre-configured for you to leverage these different features with just adding the content. There is no code necessary. So for instance, this first little bit of content that I am highlighting is displayed utilizing a basic card. These two red cards are displaying content, and actually it's a call to action, and this is an icon card. The icons that are leveraged in this particular feature are Fontasm, which we have a pro account that will give you access to the entire library of icons. Now pretend that this is your shelf. On this first shelf, you have one book. That little book will be your basic card, and then you have the ability to put different types of books or cards. So they will read from your left to your right, just like you would the books on the shelf. This second row, this is another paragraph that contains a single card, and the single card happens to be an icon card. And as we scroll down, you will notice that we have different ways of displaying content. This is all responsive. Drupal was designed for mobile, then tablet, and then lastly, desktop. However, we design desktop, maybe tablet, and then mobile. So we do recommend that as you are building your pages and your nodes, that you do have multiple devices, or that you inspect the code in responsive mode so that you could see the experience that the end user will have. As we scroll down, we have a different type of row that will allow you for a splash of color, that decorative item. This is called a hero row, and you can layer cards in front of this image. And at the bottom, you will notice that we have the footer. This is a footer that is yours to edit and for you to select the color. If you would like to change the color of your footer, this is part of the site's theme, and we're happy to execute that change for you. Now, you will notice that there is a very small little sliver at the bottom. That is our global footer. That is the footer that is for us, Tyler Technologies. If you look at the general notices here, you will have your information regarding accessibility here at the footer, and additional information that is important for you to review. Okay, so far so good. Do we have any questions at this time? Right on. So that is just a basic walkthrough through the website. If you were to look at demo.colorado.gov, you will see similar elements. Here you can see that we have applied a little bit of color to the secondary rows just to display where the boundary from one row to another one is. On this homepage for demo.colorado.gov, we have also added some buttons so that we have a visual representation of what the button colors look like and how the hover action looks for it as well. These here are media cards. We are stepping away. We have been stepping away from an image card that is just a legacy from a previous version of Drupal. But when you are leveraging a media card, it will point to assets that you have already uploaded to your website, and we will visit with that in a moment. Here at the bottom, you will notice that the same icon card without a color is reading the color that is applied to the row, and it has a different feel, right? Whereas in the CMS.Colorado, we have a white background, and we have color applied to the cards. Here on demo.colorado, we have demo.colorado.gov, we have the format to the row, and then we have no format color on the icon cards themselves. If you have your socials, you have the ability to use an embed card and just capture an iframe for whatever content you want to borrow from a third party, and you can display it within an open embed card, which is this one here for the governor's office right here. We also have the ability to contain, it's called a view card. It allows you a little snippet to information that you have already on the site. We have that for articles. We have that for calendar events, in which you could just have the most recent 3 articles published in this little view card, and then you can select into the content type to see all of the content aggregated there. Okay, so these are just sample events that I have added because they're all purple. And again, they're just displayed for you in a view card. If these are items that you would like to see on your site, please let us know. We're happy to have a one-on-one. We can also demo those during these conversations. So again, this is a footer that is for everybody to use. And then we have the global footer, which is the one for Tyler Technologies. At this point, if there aren't any questions, we're going to go ahead and get to building things together. First thing, let me have a look at the chat.
It looks like if you can, Cecilia, will we be able to cover floating buttons being done in a block layout today?
Floating buttons in an icon card, do you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. Those are available on all of the different cards. So let's get signed in. The first thing, and again, I know that there are different experiences on the participants of this call, but if you have not yet logged onto the site, you want to go ahead and insert the term user at the end of your URL so that you could be, I'm sorry, there's another.
Yes, just a question about the image card sunsetting. The image card is still available within the Drupal platform. Currently, it's not going anywhere. It's just we prefer users leverage the media card instead. This pulls the alternative text that is being added when you're adding these images to the media library without that additional step when you're uploading images into the site. So if you are already leveraging the image card on your website, it's not going to go away. But from here forward, it is highly recommended that you use the media card instead. But if you already have an image card on your site, you'll be okay.
I hope that answers the question. And thank you so much, Sunny, for your response. So in order for us to sign on to the platform, and we understand that some departments have many divisions and there are multiple websites. So these are multi-sites. You will need to log on to each one of these databases. And how you do that is by entering /user at the end of the URL that you're intending to edit. So you want to strike enter, and it will redirect you to this login page. If you do not have an account quite yet, you want to go to the bottom of this page. You want to select the create account. This will create an account, but the permissions and the status of your particular user account will need to be modified by the entity project manager, which more than likely is a person who has assigned you to work on these websites. Okay, so in this particular instance, I already have an administrator account, and I am leveraging both my single sign-on and my user and password. For the single sign-on, you would just strike this. But if there are users that do not leverage the single sign-on, I'm going to use my user and password so that you can see how it lands on the back end. So this is my user, my password is inserted. I'm going to strike login, and this is the back end. Now, a few visual indicators that you are authenticated is the presence of the main navigation. This is your main administrative menu at the top. It is a black one with a kind of silver gray sand color that you could toggle different opportunities at the top, okay? And by that I mean is that right now we are on my little avatar, and from here I have the ability to view, to edit, or to log out from my account. Shortcuts is not present to you at the moment. This is something that is just present on the administrative account, which is mine. Sunny, Barry, everybody on this call, but to our customers, it is not quite yet present. This is in research and development so that we can remove it for it to prevent any type of confusion when I am training. But the one that you're going to by far utilize the most is this one for manage. When you select manage, all of the different modules will populate. Just be mindful that the display and the view will be different based on the roles that are assigned to you. So for instance, since I am an administrator, I will have access to all of these modules that when you hover over these, you may not have, or the combination of flyouts and submenus will look different based on the roles that you have. If you are an entity project manager and you need to manage your users, you will have the user administrator role. From there, you will be able to manage two things: the status of a user account, which will be either active or blocked, or again, we don't recommend that you delete the user accounts, but you do have the ability to have an account that is active or blocked. And the second thing that you would do is just determine which roles you will be giving this individual. Now, on cms.colorado.gov, we have a little cheat sheet in our frequently asked questions section of the main navigation where you can view the user roles. It will indicate what a user can and cannot do based on the different categories. And again, you could just look at this table. If you go to the very far right, you can edit the account. And from here, you can execute those two functions, which is to change the moderation state of a user account and assign the user roles. Alrighty. This one, in our experience, does not get used a lot unless you have a lot of, you have a dynamic staff that is ramping up and revving off of your projects often. But this one, if you have any questions, we're happy to walk you through the process of adding users and managing your users. One recommendation is that you don't delete them. Just reach out to us and we're happy to make sure that the accounts are canceled in a way that the integrity of the site is intact. Now, the structure is where you will have all of your menus. Menus are structural components, as we did in that walkthrough when we talked about the utility menu. So if you needed to manage those, just click, tap, or select into the structure menu, make your way down to menus. And from here, you will have a list of menus that have already been populated by your peers, your coworkers, or if you needed to add a new one, you can add a menu here. The one that is at the top that will float atop all of your content types is the main navigation. And for that one, you could just click, tap, or select into the edit. We no longer have to calculate the row heights. We are leveraging a drag and drop functionality that will allow you to establish the parent and child dependencies from one link to another one. One of the recommendations that we have for initiatives that happen once or twice a year is that instead of you just deleting the menu, you just disable it. Let us say that it is a public library and you have like a summer reading program, or it's the rec center and you have silver sneakers events or something like that that happens occasionally. You don't have to delete it. You can retain the structure and just enable it and disable it by toggling here. That would just make sure that you just work the once. You can make the edits, but you don't have to rebuild the menu all over again. There is no limit to the number of menus that you could have. Just make sure that you're referencing those menus appropriately, and that if you want to make changes to your main navigation, that you're referencing that main navigation. Oftentimes people have an agency that has their main navigation and they have copied that to be a secondary menu. Just make sure that you are managing the specific menu, because that could be very confusing. We just had some customers call us on partner support regarding menus that were duplicated and they couldn't identify which ones were which. So again, you can decide what the naming convention for your menus will look like. Larger agencies will have very descriptive menus, but if you have menus 1 through 10, you may want to change out those names to be something that you can manage, or you could just future-proof the editing process for your coworkers. All right. From here, we're just going to click, tap, or select into the content module, which it's a website is by far the most frequently utilized content section of the website. Now, when you click, tap, or select into the content module, you will be presented with the media library. In the media library, that is where you're going to find all of the content that is native to the site, the things that you can build within the Drupal CMS, and then you're going to find the things that your coworkers have added to the website. And by that, I mean your, by far, pictures and documents. Now, if you are creating content, our recommendation is that before you start to create the web pages, or articles or events, that you upload your images and that you upload your documents. This will facilitate linking documents and creating those call to actions, because the assets will be available for your utilization. Okay, and I will explain in a moment, but I know that we had a question about a floating button, and we're going to address that in a minute. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make our way over to the media section in the content module. Okay, and from here, I'm going to share with you how to upload an image and how to upload a file. Okay, first thing you want to do is you want to click, tap, or select on the media tab. These are just like folder files right here. And then from here, you will notice that you have a table, you have some parameters that will allow you to narrow the search to locate an image that has already been added to your website. At the bottom, I'm not going to scroll to prevent you to be dizzy, but I'm going to try to slowly show you the bottom of the page. We have pagination, and you can progress forward and just look at them all by one, page by page. Alternatively, I apologize for the super scroll. You can narrow down by the category, which will be the media type. You can filter your results and it will just reduce the amount of results by the categories that you have selected, and it will filter out your documents. You can do this on the flip of that and do your documents. You can increase the number of items. This is just a table that you can manipulate at the top and it will narrow down your searches. Okay, now I'm going to add media by tapping or selecting on this blue pill button, add media. And these are the different categories that are available to me. For this example, I'm going to upload a sample document and this is going to pull from your device. Now, if at your organization, you're still leveraging kind of like a shared drive, just make sure that you locate the drive that is corresponding to yours. In this particular case, I am just going to pull from my CMS training right here, and this is just a sample document. You would notice that once I select the document, I have this little hyperlink. If I wanted to open this in a new tab, I could have a view of the document right here to verify this is the one I want to upload or whatnot. If I click away from this, you will notice that in the background, I still have my window open, and I'm just going to call this one Laura Ipsum example. At this point, I have the ability to add a description. I can add a related tag, or I can add a revision log, I should say, for training purposes or whatever the case is. And then at this point, if I am satisfied with all of my edits, I can hit tap, click, tap, or select save, and it will save the item. You will notice that this media is a container that holds your files, okay? This is not the file itself. This is a media node that houses your asset, okay? And we're gonna explain that a little bit in more detail. If I wanted to add an image, the process is extremely similar. You will navigate all the way to media. You will click on the blue add media button. From the add media list, you will select the image. And from the image option, you will notice that we're gonna, again, browse from here. I'm going to select the image. I'm gonna click, tap, or select on open. There is the little thumbnail. If I were to open this in a new window, it would do the similar experience. There is my image. I could verify this is the one. And then for here, I could call this one sunset. I have done this a gazillion times, but I'm not going to save it so that we don't have duplication of assets. If you need any information about best practices for alternative text, Sunny or Duncan, do you mind entering the oit.colorado.gov site where we have all of the website? Thank you very much. Our subject matter experts for all things accessibility will be the Colorado Office of Information Technology, and our team is going to place a link so that you have some guidelines and best practices on how to leverage the alternative text, okay? So here you have your image with the name, the image, and the alternative text. These are the three things that are required. However, you do have the ability to add the related tags and to add a revision note. The revision notes are internal. Those are for your team. The external, the user will not view this. This is totally internal. So you're safe to add here, remove this image after, I don't know, the end of fourth quarter, or whatever instructions you want to have internally, you could have here. Again, this is not the image itself. This is the node that holds your image. The reason why we want to stress this is because if you needed to keep versioning, you could remove the file and replace it and putting in a note that says remove image 2024 December to replace with January 2025, and that will allow you to have the same node that is referenced throughout the entire website with the same link. Again, if you have questions about this, we're super happy to go into a deeper dive. This is why we want to reference images using the media library. The image card is pulling from your device. The media card is pulling from the media library. Francie, I'm not sure if this further explains why we are preferring the media card as opposed to the image card. Is because the integrity of the assets as they are referenced on the website is greater when we're leveraging the media library, not so much something that you just uploaded from your computer. I hope that makes sense. Gotcha. All right. So that's the reason why we want for you to leverage the media library and to leverage the media card. In this instance, if you are ready, you could go ahead and click tap or select save, and your image will be saved. I'm going to click into the content so that you can see that we have files in addition to media. And here is the explanation. So the explanation is that we are creating containers that hold your assets. Those are your nodes, right? When we are referencing document A, document B, and we want for that to be done multiple times across the website, and we have the ability to say, okay, document B is now obsolete. It has been superseded. I have to replace this with document C as in Charlie. What you would do is go into the media library, remove document A, remove document B, and replace it with document C. And all of the places where you have made a link to that document will keep that same reference, right? Here's the thing, you have uploaded the image, so the image is still going to live in your file folder. So these are your media nodes in the media tab, and these are your files. So if you needed to revert back to lorem ipsum A as in avocado, you could revert to it because it will be here. So again, this is going to make sense when we go to create a link on the basic page. We're going to do that now. If we don't have any additional questions. All right, so that is the difference between media. Media is the node that contains your asset, and then the file tab contains your assets themselves. When you delete the media node, you will delete the media and the file, and those will be deleted from the server. That will return a page not found. And this is true for your files, this is true for your images, and this is also true for your nodes. If I have a calendar event and I delete the calendar event, the expected error is page not found because that asset is no longer part of your database of your website. However, if I change the status of a node from published to unpublished, that will say access denied because the asset exists. However, it is not viewable to the end user. So that is just something to note as we are creating content, as you see us creating stuff together. All righty, I'm going to pause a moment to verify if there are any questions, any feedback, anything that you guys have to share with the team. Agree, disagree. All righty, we are at 10:29. Let's get to creating some stuff together. For this, I'm going to click, tap, or select onto the content module. This is where we were. You're going to hear me repeat this over and over. We're going to click into the content module. When we're in the content module, we're going to be presented with the media library. The default tab of this media library is content. We have just explored the things that I can add to my website to make it my own, right? I know where the nodes are and I know where my actual files are. Let's get to creating things. The sort here on the table, if you're looking for something that someone else has already built, is similar to that of the media tab. You could narrow it down by the different content types. You can narrow it further down by the moderation status, and you can actually look at the authoring, the person who actually authored the page. So again, if you're looking for content that has already been published, this is the way in which you could do it. If we were to scroll to the bottom of the page, you're going to have opportunities for pagination where you could progress through the entire results, or you can narrow down your results. In this particular example, we are going to create a piece of content. Now, I'm going to create a basic page, but we're going to switch over and do a layout right after. So we're going to allow a little bit of time for you to see what rows and cards look like, and then we're going to just start moving forward to layouts. If you click tap or select on basic page, you will start to create. But before we do that, just notice that it is an alphabetical sort. All of the content types, the things that are native to Drupal CMS, will be here. These are all of the things that you could create, and you will beautify it and make it your own by adding the things that you have added to the website. I hope that makes sense. First thing we're going to do is we're going to click tap or select on basic page. The only required field will be the title. The title today, let's do sunrise. And again, this is the only required field that is mandatory for all of your nodes. Now, the only other thing that I wanted to point out is that the moderation state is very important. Your default moderation state is draft, and that is right here at the bottom left corner of your content. It will fall into a draft because it's kind of like a This is not ready for prime time. We're not going to automatically publish your content like other content management solutions might do. This one has been configured to have this draft opportunity, and you will need to tell the system to publish it. So the only required field being sunrise, I'm going to click over to this tab to grab some placeholder text with your permission. I think it copied, and I am just going to paste. Now, there's one thing that you remember from this session today is do not ever paste directly from other sources. When you are adding content onto your CK editor, this is the editor that is empowering this basic card. We want for you to paste without formatting. And there are many ways to do this. You could do hotkeys. For the sake of the example, I'm going to do a right click so that you can see what the function looks like. And there it is. Now, we talked about the images in the media library. If you wanted to leverage the image from the media library so that you could have that consistency across the website, you will leverage this insert media feature. When you click, tap, or select this, it's going to point to the media library, and all of the images that you have already formatted that have their alternative text, as Sunny was referencing before, will be here. If you needed to add something on the fly, you could do that on the top of this display right here. Okay, so I'm going to leverage an image that we have already added to the website. Let's just do this one because it's the first one. And I am going to indicate to the system to insert the image. This image is coming from the media library. If I do a right click here, it will give me different options. I could do a full content. I could have the placement of it. I can make it into a link and all that good stuff. I'm going to hit here to get a paragraph. Let me just add some more content here. And I'm going to hit return so that I can show you the difference between uploading an image from your computer versus leveraging something that you have in the media library. When I point to my device, this is on my device, and every single time I need to change it, I will need to fetch this image and make the edits. That's why we prefer for you to use the media library. You do have opportunities for alternative text when you're uploading an image from your computer. For the sake of this example, I'm going to mark this a decorative item. And I'm going to save the insertion, and I'm going to click return down here so that I can get a paragraph here. Now, there are a few things that you could do. You can add a table, you can add an accordion. The font size and families have been added to the platform. Again, we do have some additional features like using a quote, adding symbols. If this is a little bit too small for you and you wanted to have a full screen view, the very first icon of your WYSIWYG is your full screen. So again, if you prefer to have a full screen, just click there. If you want to toggle back, it's going to be right here highlighted in this little blue color. So if you click there, it's just going to give you the default view. I hope this makes sense. Again, I'm going to scroll to the bottom to save, but before I save, I just wanted to let you know that if Sunrise is not what I want my URL to be, I have the ability to deselect the generate aliases, and then it will give me a field that I could just populate myself. The default is that the content that is placed in the title field will populate for your URL, but if that is not something that you want, you could just deselect that feature and create your own URL. The URL is just window dressing. Once I save this particular node, that is what the numerical designation for this node would be. I'm going to save it in draft. You will notice that there is a pink background that is a visual indicator that my content is not in a publish moderation state. From here, I have an opportunity to make it publish. That is the default right there. I could strike apply, and it would make my content public. My node here has a URL vanity, a URL that is just window dressing. It is Sunrise. When I click into edit, the node path will be present. And this is node 12411. It's a numerical value that is assigned to my content. So far, so good. I understand that we wanted to do in a layout. Was that what Tom needed? A floating button. Tom, is that what you wanted to see? You wanted for us to do a button on rows and cards or in layouts? I will go ahead and do one in row.
It looks like layouts.
Okay, so let's go to layouts. So again, this is the rows and cards. If you needed to, thank you, Duncan, for that. If you needed to add rows and cards, the modal is a little bit different, but the functions are still here. We will add an equal column row, or you could determine what row you want to get, and you would just add the new row. Once you are here, if I wanted to create a link, I could just do sample link. I could highlight my anchor text, and I could then pick this, and then I could find the items in the media library. This is where the example is coming in as to how we have the nodes versus the files. If I start to type lorem ipsum, that is the name that I have given to the file. These are the different files. But if there is a content type that is also called lorem ipsum, that content type, be it a basic page, a landing page, will populate, because this little search is searching everything that is in the media library. But if I wanted to point to the file, this is going to be pointing to the server site CMS. This is a PDF document, okay? And this is what I would do. I will determine if I need advanced features for this one. In this particular case, I'm not going to add anything here, but I'm going to save the link. And once my link is saved, I'm going to style my link to look like a button, okay? So when we are doing that, the colors for those buttons, remember, are those right here. And Duncan and I are working on some content to make sure that we have greater visibility on what the colors for the buttons look like. All right, thank you, Tom. We're gonna go to layouts right now. But over here, if I wanted for it to be styled with default, which is that gray color, I could do that. And I'm gonna scroll to the bottom and I'm going to save. Now that my page is published, it's gonna ask me again, do you really wanna save it? And I'm gonna say yes. So here we have no background because the page is published. I have my media library asset. I have the asset from my desktop. And then my first row is a basic page that holds a link. All right, now we're gonna go over to layouts by click tapping or selecting in content. And I'm going to add content. And this time I'm gonna scroll to the bottom where it says layouts. Now the layout content type is similar, only that instead of limiting the content creation to paragraphs where you have a row and you have the cards on top of that row, it will provide you with the flexibility to move your blocks across the different sections. So the labels for these are different, but it is just what is happening now with Drupal, where we're not limited by the paragraph. The first thing to add will be the title. And we're going to do sunset for this one. If you wanted to change the URL alias, you could do so here. If you wanted to do a sample link, we could do that here. We're just going to highlight the anchor text. We're going to select the linked feature. And for this instance, we're going to do the absolute path, which is the protocol and the domain, so that it points to something outside of my website. Let's just do demo. Colorado.gov. And I'm going to click down here and I'm going to save. So this is all there is on the body of my content type called layout, which has a title of sunset. I have not deselected the automatic generation of URLs, so we can expect for this to be /sunset. Once I save the node, I'm going to scroll to the bottom. The publication status by default is published. So if this is not ready for prime time, we need to deselect here and we want to strike save. You will notice that sunset has been saved. It has a pink background, which is my visual indicator that this is still not published. And in addition to that, now my layout tab is present. When I click tap or select on the layout link, it will provide me with two things. The content that was in the body, which was that little sample link button. I have these other placeholders, which I can remove. This is how you remove a block. It will tell you that the action cannot be undone. This is the placeholder for links on the top of the page if you wanted to. Let's just remove that to show you another way of removing a block. And here is my sample link. Now, if I wanted to edit this, I could go ahead and edit. Now you will see that I have unsaved changes because I executed two things without save. I deleted two blocks and I haven't saved it. For years, I have been telling you to go to the bottom left of your screen and save. for layouts content type is slightly different. I want for you to scroll to the top, and on the top left, I would like for you to save your layout. You will see there is the sample link. The placeholder blocks are gone. The pink background is still there, but my edits have been committed. They have been saved. I'm going to click back into layouts. Is there a preview button before publish? I don't think that is here present in the layout content type. Let me put that on research and development. Whose this is? Duncan, can I task you with something, friend? Could you write me a ticket? Thank you, sir. Could you write me a ticket about adding the preview button on the layout content type? Yes. And link it to Kelly from CCRD? Thank you very much. We see you. Thank you, Kelly, for that feedback. We have to add that. But let's go ahead and continue to build out this layout. Again, layouts are sections and blocks, and they're a departure from what we have been doing in the rows and cards, in which we have a row and that row cannot be altered. We cannot move a card up and down. Here is different, and I'm going to share these boundaries with you. This solid line, pardon me, is the area of content that will be visible to the end user. You will notice that I have configured section 1. This is the section that came from the body. It came from over here. This is the body. This is always going to be section 1. Different from rows and cards where we had to go over here and edit it. Now we have the ability to continue to edit our body as it relates to the content of the different sections. And I know it's a little bit confusing now, but you will see it in action in a minute. This boundary right here, that solid blue line, is where your visible content will be. If I wanted to add a block to this section, section 1 will always have 1 column. I'm going to add a section that has 2 columns and one that has 3 so that you can see how you can start to add those sections so you can move content around. That's my recommendation. In order for me to add a section, I can add a section by clicking on this plus. Since the body is a single column, I'm going to throw in a 2 column and I'm going to do it 50-50. I'm going to do, and I'm going to change the header on this one to be a H2, I believe, title. So this has to be an H2, and I'm going to change the color. So let's see if blue works, and I'm going to add this particular section. And you will notice now that this one is displaying the title, whereas section 1 is not. If I wanted for section 1 to display the title, I will click into section 1, and I will say, and then here I could have it shown, and I'm going to wrap this as a 2 so that the order is correct. And I'm going to update section 1 title. And then if I wanted to add another section, let's do one that has 3 columns. And here you will see the distribution of the rows. This is very similar to the experience we had in rows and cards, where you could determine your distribution of the cards as they pertain to the row. Instead of fractions, they're just represented in percentages. So if you wanted to change it up a little bit, section 3, we could have the title show or not. Since I am showing it, I want to change it to wrap as a H2, and I want to add this section. And now you see I have something that I could work with. And let us say that Sunny or Barry gave me something to upload to the website, and I'm like, okay, let's start to build. Section 1 is the part that has the block right there. If I wanted to add a block underneath here, and I want for that content block to be a map to where this location, this event is going to take place, I could just add a title. I'm going to call this one venue location. And I'm going to display the title for the example, then we'll take it off. And then if I wanted to add some text, I'm going to click this text from here, and I'm going to paste it. And then in the address, I'm just going to enter a known address. If I wanted to apply color, I could do this, but this is a map, and those make me a little bit nervous with accessibility. So I am not going to apply a color. I'm just going to save it as is. And there is the venue location, the sample text. Over here, I want to add an icon for Tom. He wanted to see that, so we're going to say this is an icon block. And I'm going to display the title for the example. I can add a bunch of text if I wanted to here. And then for the icon, I'm going to use book. And this is going to be searching, Tom, the entire Phantasm library. So it's going to take a minute, and these are the different options that I have. I think I wanted to use book open, right? And there it is. If I wanted to position the icon above, that seems to be the default on all of ours. But if you wanted for some reason to have it to the left or to the right, you could do that even at the bottom. We could do that. And then here is where you can leverage a link. What is this little icon going to link to, right? So here I could just have something that is internal, like that lorem ipsum, like a lorem ipsum file, or let's just do HTTPS. So if this is CMS, let's have it point to demo, so that it's not moving into the home page. At colorado.gov. And we could have it open in a new link. And for the background color, let's do plum. And I'm not going to add anything else, but you could round the border. Let's just round it to make it very rounded. And let's add the block. And this is what my block will look like. Here, I'm going to add a block that doesn't have any text above it. It would just have the icon itself. I'm not going to display the title so that you can see how that saves you some space. I'm going to enter book again. Let's do another book. And then let's enter, it's a demo, correct? Yes, let's do demo. And then I'm going to have it open in a new window, and let's do dark blue. And then let's make this one very, very rounded. And let's add the block. So this is it right there. It does not display the title as we had selected to have it here. It doesn't display the text that is in the CK editor. It is just your traditional icon as we have those right over here. But again, the beauty of having the layouts is that, let's just say that Francis like Cecilia, that doesn't go there. We're going to move it around. I could take this block. And once my 4 directional arrow moves, I could take it to another section. And then I can add a new block here. For this one, let us just add a media block so that we could kind of reinforce going into the media instead of using those icon image cards. When I select the media block, it's going to point to the media library. So I'm going to call this one media block, just so that we have the little label right there. And then I just want to click on the add media, and it's going to bring up the media items that I already have. If I needed to add a new item, I could do it here on the fly. But if we're just going into that pattern or that practice of adding our stuff before we start to build, we could do it here. I'm not sure which one I use for the other example, but we're just going to use this one. These are all of your documents and your images here on this modal, but I'm going to select this one right here. And I am not going to give it a color because I don't want to give it a color, but we haven't used the shade. So for here, I'm going to use a large shadow. Can you guys see this okay, or do I have to make my display a little bit bigger? I have added a large shadow. I hope that that comes across okay. And I am going to add the block so that you can view it here. And you can see that my block right here has a big shadow. That is the media reference from my media library. Again, if I wanted to move this from one section to another one, once you see that my 4 directional arrow is there, I could drag this and place it here. If I wanted to add a menu, I could click on this block and I could reference any menu here. Let me find the main navigation. I'm going to click on main navigation, which is a block that already exists. I don't want it to have the title, and I'm just going to give this one a little background color. This is rather unusual for us to have this amount of different colors. This is not good user experience, but just so that you can see the boundaries of it right there, that is our main navigation within the section on a block itself. Now, again, this is going to look very absurd. This is just to show you the things that the layout content type can do. Let's add something on this secondary one. I'm going to do a basic block. You're going to see that the CK editor is displayed here. We're going to call this one basic, and we're going to keep the title so that you can see where it places. And I'm not going to add a color to this one, but I am going to add a border, which is the one thing we have not done. I'm going to add a 3-pixel border here, and we're going to hit there. That is the little gray border around it, and we're going to save. I know this doesn't make a lot of sense because it's just playing around. We're going to scroll to the top, and we're going to save our layout. You would notice that I have the pink background because it is not in the published status. If I wanted to change that, we could do that real quick. But this is what it will look like with the, I think this was an 8, and this is the 12 pixel. This is the media library. This is the basic page. This right here is section 3. If I didn't want to have my labels, I can always go back into my layout and configure the section so that those titles are not displaying. So I could go into configure section 1. It's not going to change the name of it. I'm just not going to show the label. That is also true for my different blocks. For instance, if I wanted to edit this basic block and I don't want the title to be displayed, I could click on this pencil to edit, and I want to configure my block. And when I am configuring my block, underneath this one that it says hide or display, you just want to deselect it so it's not showing the title. At this point, if I wanted to do additional things like reference the media library, I can insert media from the media library from here. And then I can scroll to the bottom and I can update the configuration of my block. And here you will have the venue location with the simple map. We have the first icon with the text. We removed the title from this one and we added an image. Again, my changes have not been saved. So I'm going to scroll to the top and save it. Now, I wanted to check in because we have about 10 more minutes left. Are there additional things that I could demo, Tom? And you can off mic and just tell us where you want us to go with this. Do we have any additional questions? Oh, the floating button. Okay. By floating button, are you referring to this one as a floating button? This one right here? Something like that. Okay, got it. So the button, it is part of the CK editor. This is our sample link right here. I'm going to go back in the section. I'm going to create a brand new one so we could do it together. I'm going to add a new section. It's going to be a single column. And then I'm going to say button. And we're going to style a link. Okay. So I'm just going to add that section right there. That is my section. I'm going to add a block. And on this block, I'm going to go into create a content block. And then I'm going to go into the basic blocks so that I can leverage the CK editor. Now that I am in the CK editor, I'm going to say style a link as my title. I'm going to have it display. Let's grab some sample text right here. I'm going to do sample button. I'm going to highlight my anchor text. Okay, this is my anchor text. I'm going to highlight it. And the first step to creating a button is to first create the link. And for this one, let us go ahead and do this is CMS, so let's do demo. Right, so this is, I am missing that too. HTTPS demo.colorado.gov. I'm going to click and I'm going to select the link. So the link has now been created. In order for me to style this link as a button, I'm going to select the anchor text. And you will notice that this styles from the CK editor has now been selectable. It's not grayed out. When I drop down here, you will notice that I have all of these functions for button colors, right? So I'm going to do success because it's the color green, and you will see how that particular link is now styled like a button. On this particular block, I have to save the changes, right? So I'm going to go to the bottom here and I'm going to add this block because this is a brand new block that we created together. Instead of update, the language will be create. Once I save and I update this one, it's going to be right here. Now it will have a hover action once it is published. Right now it's still kind of like we haven't saved it, but once you hover over, it will have that function. So I am going to scroll to the top, and on the left, I'm going to save. And now when I hover over the button, you will see that it's going to change to the floating button action that you see on demo here. This is success. Does this answer your question, hopefully? Awesome, awesome. So this is a style. No, truly my pleasure. If you want us to do another one-on-one with this, just go ahead on partner support. Sunny, if you have a link, or Duncan, to my availability, throw it in there. If not, just hit us up on partner support, and Sunny, Duncan, or myself are happy to walk you through. If you have a specific use case that you want to have more text, we could get more of just a few words. We can have an entire paragraph be a button if you need it. And we just need to make sure that thank you, that we look at accessibility to make sure that your use case is good to go. Do we have any additional questions? We have about 3 minutes before time. We're happy to schedule more of these if you wanted to do a deeper dive, but I'm going to stop talking and open up for questions, feedback, the good, the bad, the ugly. Well, I think that's a no. I really appreciate you being here. If nothing percolates at the moment, if nothing pops up, truly our pleasure. Truly our pleasure. Just again, hit us up at partner support. Truly our pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. We want for this to be a collaboration. If there is anything that you want to see, send us a message at partner support. And for the next session in 2 weeks at this same time, same location, we would demo that for you. So again, you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you so much to the Tyler team that is here today for monitoring the chat and to provide support. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here, and I will see you the next time. Bye, guys. Bye, Benjamin. Oh, cool.